Hey everybody. So my husband and I are driving across Nowhere, USA, and I thought I would share with you my sepsis story. So if you're interested, hop on in the back and I'll tell you our story. Welcome everybody. This is Thriving Every Day and I'm Linda, and I'm going to share my sepsis story as my husband and I travel along on our journey today. He's driving, so don't worry, all is safe. So sepsis started, let's go back a little bit and tell you what we were doing. So it was the height of COVID in August of 2020, and we had decided to drive across country to see our first grandbaby. She was just 1 month old, and we didn't want to miss out on seeing her when she was just a tiny baby. So we jumped in our car, booked Airbnbs so that we would be COVID safe, and traveled across country to see her and our daughter and our son-in-law. We visited with family for a couple weeks and then decided to make a vacation of it as we traveled home. And we stopped a couple places along the way, and we had decided to stop in Ouray, Colorado, which is a beautiful little town, and we had been doing some hiking along in Colorado, and then we stopped in Ouray and did some hiking, and that night we stayed there in Ouray, and the next day we hadn't really decided what we were going to be doing, but we we're thinking about maybe we'd stop somewhere in New Mexico, maybe Santa Fe, enjoy some museums, that kind of thing. But we hadn't really set anything in stone yet. So we finished hiking, and then we went to bed, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up with some kidney pain. Now, I am a mean green kidney stone making machine, so I know what kidney stones are all about. And I thought, no, I've got these kidney twinges, which could possibly be a kidney stone. I'm not very happy about that, but it's 3 a.m. I'm not going to wake my husband up, and I'm going to drink some water, see if I can get it to move on by itself, and try and go back to bed. So I did that, tried to go back to sleep, but there was the twinges just would come often enough to keep me awake. And about 6 o'clock, my husband started stirring, and I was still in some pain. So I told him, I said, I think I'm passing a kidney stone, which is not very fun, but something new had occurred that had never happened before with my kidney stones, and that was I was nauseous. So he got up, and we packed up, and I started getting ready to leave, to move on for the day. And then I started throwing up, and we knew that I was in trouble. I was sick. So we packed up, abandoned the hotel at 6 a.m. and drove. Now, we were 17 hours from home at this point. Looking back, the decision that we made at this point probably was not the best, but hindsight is always 20/20. We just thought I had kidney stones and I wasn't feeling well, and so going home was good, but we probably should have instead driven 40 minutes north to Colorado Springs, or even the 4 hours, 5 hours, something like that, back Salt Lake City instead of the 17 hours home. But that's what we did, and all worked out well. So, my husband drove, because for 17 hours I threw up and slept, and then throw up and sleep, as my husband frantically tried to get us home. So we arrived home about 2 a.m. on Sunday morning. I was so sick, still sick, so weak from throwing up for so long, and I opted just to lay down on the couch downstairs because there was no way that I could make it upstairs. I was just too weak. So I slept all day Sunday, and then Monday morning, still downstairs on the couch, my husband got up and decided to mow the lawn because it had been 2 weeks since it had been mowed. And I decided that I really needed a shower. So he went out to mow the lawn, and I went upstairs to take a shower. Still pretty weak, but I thought I really just needed a shower. So went up, took a shower, and I came out and I could hardly even get dressed. It was just, I was so weak. And then I walked out to the top of our stairs, and I could hardly even breathe, and I could not get the strength to walk down the stairs, and I just was standing at the top of the stairs. Well, in the meantime, my husband, who was outside mowing the lawnmower quit. Now, I am a very religious person, and this, to me, is the first of many miracles that happened during my sepsis journey. That lawnmower has never given us any trouble and has always started on the first pull. So the lawnmower stopped and he could not get it restarted. So he just decided, well, I'll just go in and get a drink, check on Linda, and come back out and finish the lawn, give the lawnmower a little bit of a break. Came in and he found me at the top of the stairs, unable to come down. Now later, when he, actually I'll tell you his view later that he's told me. So he helped me down the stairs. I told him I couldn't get down the stairs. And so he helped me down the stairs. We get to the bottom, and I couldn't even, with his help, move any further. So I sat down on the stairs, and I looked at my legs, and they were mottled purple, which is not good. Not good to have mottled purple skin. At this time, my husband has told me since that I was blue. He was really concerned. So he finally got me out into the car, and he rushed to the ER, which we are very fortunate to have a hospital right at the front of our subdivision, and it took like 2 minutes to get to the hospital. Now remember, we're at the height of COVID. We get to the ER, and they put me in a wheelchair, take me in, and send my husband home because he can't come in. We're in the height of COVID. Now at this point, I also learned that they thought I had COVID because I couldn't breathe. So they took me back to a COVID isolation room, did a rapid test, and discovered that it wasn't COVID, which we knew it wasn't COVID. But then they didn't know what. And they started doing blood work and all the tests and everything, and found that I had severe sepsis. And later I would learn that the doctor would tell my husband that if he had waited very much longer to bring me in, that I would have had septic shock, and they don't know if they could have brought me back. So an another blessing to get in soon enough that the doctors could work on me and save me. So I spent some time down in the ER in a COVID room because they didn't have anywhere for me to go upstairs. I don't know how long I spent down there because I'm pretty sick. They finally get me up to an ICU room, which was on the COVID floor. I guess, I don't know. They just kept putting me with all the COVID people, which is fine. You know, they treated me well. I know everybody that came in was taking precautions all along the way, not to bring COVID into my room. So, blood tests, and I ended up spending 10 days in the ICU. The first 7 days, they were stumped. I was being pumped full of heavy antibiotics and fluids, and having tests run all the time because they couldn't figure out what was causing the sepsis. Everybody was great. The nurses were good. The doctor was okay. He would stick his head just far enough in the room once a day to, I guess, make sure that I knew I had a doctor. I don't know. It was weird. But anyway, one night I had to push my button because I couldn't breathe. And within seconds, my room was filled with amazing nurses and techs who were there to take care of me. It was great. That was great. And then I also had my D-dimer level was really high, so they thought I also had a blood clot, and they thought that was causing the sepsis, but then they couldn't find a blood clot. But I've also since learned that your D-dimer can be high when your body is under stress. So I don't know how they figured that one out, but they did. Then I had I want to tell you about this amazing nurse that I had now. All my nurses were good. They made sure that I was taken care of and that I was kept alive, and that is key. I mean, I wasn't in the mood. I didn't even have any energy to talk to anybody, really. It would take me all day to be able to figure out how to video call my husband, because I couldn't really focus on the phone. It was hard. So, chatting up the nurses really wasn't something I wanted or needed to do. But one day I had this nurse that came in, and she did all of the amazing things that the other nurses were doing. She made sure I had my meds. She took my blood work to do tests, all that good kind of stuff that all the nurses did. But then she looked me in the eye and saw me as a person, and that was actually kind of a game changer for me. And she said to me, she asked me if I wanted to have a shower. Now, this was day 6 or 7 in the ICU. So I was, getting pretty ripe, I'm sure. And a shower sounded amazing, but I didn't really see how that could happen because I couldn't stand up on my own. I had IVs and tubes and everything, and I didn't see how a shower could happen. So I told her that, and she said, "Don't worry about it. That's for me to figure out. That's what I do." And the next thing I know, she came back, and she had this amazing wheelchair. It was made out of PVC pipe and net, and it was perfect for a shower. And I'm sure that she didn't make it for me, But that was an amazing thing. So she gave me a shower. She brought a toothbrush and some toothpaste in, and that was, and then she asked me if I had ordered lunch yet, and I hadn't even thought about eating. So it had probably been about 10 days since I had eaten. So that was amazing. She helped me order lunch, and that was the best chicken broth I'd ever had. So it was good. She was great. She was a game changer for me. But then it was the next day that they finally discovered that it was the kidney stone that had gotten stuck, and that's what it was causing my sepsis. So I had an emergency surgery procedure to put a stent in to get the kidney stone to move on and to relieve my body of the sepsis. So it was 2 days after that I was sent home. Sepsis was gone, just like that. A couple more days of antibiotics. I went home with some more antibiotics to make sure that everything was good. But then came the sepsis recovery. So they sent me home with, your checkout papers that you get from the hospital and everything that says that you need to be careful of, you need to do, you need to not do. There really wasn't anything. In fact, it said I could go back to work the next day. I was like, what? I still couldn't even walk on my own. I was still super weak, and by this point I had lost 15 pounds in 10 days. I know it sounds amazing to do that, but not so much when you do it that fast and for that reason. So luckily I had an at-home job, pandemic, so everybody was at home, but I could work when I wanted. So that was good, and my boss was amazing. So went home. My husband picked me up from the hospital. First time I'd seen him in 10 days, which was, in person. We had video chatted every day. So that was amazing. I was very grateful to see him and be alive, to be able to see him again. But I went home and back to my couch in the bottom floor because, again, there was no way. I couldn't get back up the stairs. Spent quite a bit of time on the couch recovering. And my first goal for myself was just to be able to walk from the couch to the bathroom without falling over and by myself. So that was the first goal, and that took a while. And then my next goal was to be able to go outside and to a swing that's in our backyard by myself. So doing things by myself was a big thing. My husband was amazing. He helped me a ton. Every time I needed to go anywhere, he was there to help support me. He also worked from home, which was a good thing. So he was able to be there to help me to regain my strength. He would cook and clean and support me literally, physically, so I could do things. First we started out just walking around the backyard, and then down the block, just trying to regain my strength. And I was dizzy. I had this weird dizzy thing in my head. When I was finally able to walk by myself out to the swing, I would walk out to the swing, lay down and take about a 2-hour nap, and then walk back in. And that's how much energy it would take for me to walk and do things. Gradually, I've regained my health. We are now almost 2 years out from sepsis. It's taken a long time. When I would finally convince my husband to let me go shopping with him, we had to set a timer because I could only be in the store for 15 minutes before he would have to carry me out. We learned that the hard way. One day I was back in the back of Costco and didn't have any more strength, and he had to basically carry me out back to the car. So it's been crazy sepsis recovery. I don't even know. Some things are still weird with my body. I still will suddenly become dizzy, and I don't know why. And I'll have to sit down, and people will catch me and sit me down, so I don't fall over. I wish I knew what that was, if I'm still recovering from sepsis, or if that will be with me forever. If you know, I would love to hear from you. Just put in the comments below. Sorry about the jiggly. We're on a little bit of a bumpy road. So, but please just write in the comments below if you know anything about sepsis recovery. I have not really been able to find any of my doctors that have been able to tell me anything, what I should expect. I don't know. But I'm doing good, I think, and basically doing everything. So that's my sepsis story. If you have a sepsis story, I would love to hear it. And just know that, man, we are so blessed. If you've gone through sepsis, it's a blessing. I feel very blessed to be alive, to have all my limbs, to be able to do the things that I want to do. One thing that I will do in another video is I did lose my hair, so the curly hair that I have is new to me, and I'll talk about that in another video, because that was a crazy ride, and that is due to sepsis as well. So look for that video. I'll do it in a couple weeks probably. Anyway, thanks for riding along with us. We'll let you out at the next stop. Talk to you later.